Hello, welcome to another episode of This, That, and the Other. It's been a little while since I've done a video. I have run out of ideas on shows to do, but ideas do come to me. And here's an obscure one and kind of hard to explain. I've been reading this book going along about the history of the American Football League, the AFL, before it merged with the NFL in 1970. There is a story in here about a player on helping out the Boston Patriots. In November of 1961, on a chilly Friday, during the first week of that month, the Boston Patriots were hosting the Dallas Texans. And there was a high school coach in Boston that told Hank Stram, coach of the Dallas Texans, that he'd been watching the Patriots practice, and if Hank Stram needed information on what they were going to do or anything, he could give him information. So he was not a big fan of the Patriots, so I guess that's why he was willing to do that. And this is what I read happened. It was right near the end of the game, and they were behind by 7 points. They called a play. Abner Haynes was a halfback, and Johnny Robinson was the other back. They rolled out Rice, had Chris Burford wide open. They had defensive end Larry Eisenhower, and he smelled a rat and reacted to it. He was chasing Cotton Davidson, the quarterback, down. Cotton was running for his life, and he threw the ball downfield to Burford. Burford got behind the defensive back, caught the ball, but the guy got to him quickly. Chris was trying to right himself so he could turn around and run for a touchdown. He ran behind, slipped and fell, and was tackled at the 5. Chris Burford was saying, then we called a slant, and I could beat this kid I was playing against. We came up to the line and had to go back in the huddle because the officials were clearing the field, making sure everybody got off. Larry Eisenhower says they had time for one play. Davidson probably could have run the ball. He chose to throw. Chris Burford said, I was split left. I went ahead, made a move, and was headed for the post. I saw Cotton, and I saw the ball released. It was coming right at me. I figured I was going to score. Then the ball went fluttering up in the air. I didn't know what happened. There was pandemonium, people on the field. Game ended, game was over. Cotton Davidson was saying we set it up to move the backs one way to get to the midfield, to the middle linebacker to flow, to hit Burford in the void. That's right, where some fan came and stood. I was all excited, upset. I told Hank, a guy came out on the field and tipped the ball. Gino Cappelletti was saying he didn't bat it down, but he ran in front of Burford. This guy snuck out of the pack, ran into the secondary, and was waving his hands, not really picking out anyone in particular. Sure enough, he got in front of Burford. Pass was overthrown anyway. Hank Stram was saying it was bad enough he lost, but he said this coach was telling me that a guy that wasn't even on the football team came into the game and knocked the ball down. He was saying, Coach, I'm telling you, I could see a guy in a jacket knocking the ball down. Chris Burford was saying that the coaches didn't finally find out what really happened until he looked at the film the next day. Then they saw a guy in a raincoat who came onto the field before the play started and got let off. Then just before the play started, he came back out, set up like a linebacker, crouched down, play started. I was going to the post, Cotton was throwing the ball, and the guy in the overcoat jumped up and knocked the damn thing down. It was suspected that the linebacker from Boston College, who was being taxied at the time by the name of Frank Rabati, was the hero or culprit. He had been a starting linebacker the year before. Cappelletti was saying that Hank Stram and all the Dallas people were disappointed that something like that could happen, but with everybody trying to make the league go, they didn't want to come up with protests, so they just let it go. At the time, that the league was new and wasn't had some issues, and they didn't want the NFL already to not like this league being there, and they were doing anything they could to hurt the league. So they really didn't want word getting out that their league was having some problems. So they just let it go. But basically, Boston won because of a person that wasn't even on the football team came out on the field and knocked the ball down. Kind of an interesting set of circumstances. I do know that there was a play in the what was it? I guess the Sugar Bowl, or the Cotton Bowl. Maybe it was the Cotton Bowl back in the early 1960s, where a guy on Rice was running for a touchdown, and one of the Alabama guys came out from the sidelines and tackled and knocked him out of bounds, tackled him, and then went back out of bounds again, trying to hide. But that one was caught. Rice ended up getting ordered the ball on the 1 yard line. I believe they right after scored. But things like that have happened, and that was kind of an interesting thing. Kind of hard to follow, but reading it out of a book. But anyway, looking for ideas on shows to do in the future. Like I said, shows about preserving history, especially obscure aspects of history. Sorry, I had to cough. And this is definitely an obscure one. That being said, like, subscribe, share. As always, thanks for watching.